Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
Uh,
afternoon, sir.
at the outset, I would like to thank the principal of Saraswati Law College Chitradurga, principal of RA Law College Davangere, and principal of CBR National College of Law Shimoga for this opportunity to me to address in this validity function. In this 5 days seminar, a lot of subjects have been discussed, like social transformation, gender justice, intellectual property rights, land acquisitions, uh, and sustainable development goals, labor law reforms, and other subjects also. All these subjects which have been discussed are so relevant and important in the present day circumstances. I am extremely happy that the law colleges have initiated programs like this. And even the speakers also, all of them are researchers, eminent professors, and also they have a lot of experience in life and law. And I think all the participants in this program have thoroughly enjoyed this and they thoroughly enjoyed the lectures by the eminent professors and also enriched their knowledge in these 5 days seminar. Law, of course, as we know, is an instrument which can bring about changes in the society. It can transform the society. It can also regulate the conduct of human beings in the society. It can create rights. It can do many wonderful things. But the difficulty for all of us is there are plenty of laws, beneficial legislations are there, and which serve the common good of all the people. There are many legislations like that. But the difficulty is in implementation. We are finding it difficult to implement the laws. Few examples we can give are like, say, Dowry Prohibition Act is there. And in that Dowry Prohibition Act, giving dowry, demanding dowry, taking dowry is treated as an offense. And it is also said, provided in the said act, that those persons who take dowry cannot keep it with them, and it must be returned within a particular uh, time. But nobody is, rarely this provision is acted upon or used. So also the givers probably are not prosecuted even in a single case. Taking dowry and giving dowry is also equally an offense. Though the people who give dowry come and depose before the court, we have given so much of dowry. They admit that they have given dowry. Though the act provides that givers also must be prosecuted, and rarely we have prosecuted. So the implementation of laws, somewhere even dowry, just by prosecuting few persons, we cannot solve this problem at all. The aim of Dowry Prohibition Act is to create public awareness and see that the social evil is removed from the society. That can happen not by prosecuting few persons here and there. That can be done by educating, by creating awareness. That is not done. So also there are many laws relating to environment. They are not properly implemented. So also prevention of corruption. Their laws are there, giving, demanding, and taking bribe is treated as an illegal act. It is treated as an offense, but its implementation is very, very poor. So we have plenty of laws, good laws, beneficial legislations which benefit to achieve the constitutional goals. There are many laws, but we have failed in implementing them. Certainly, there is no doubt that law can change the society. It can transform. It can bring about tremendous changes in the society, provided we are aware of it and we respect it and we implement it. That part is not happening, though there are many laws executed. Many laws are there. Many existing laws are there. Let's see uh, the constitutional goals. The constitutional goals are to achieve social justice, means social, economic, and political justice. That is one of the prime objectives of the Constitution. And equality, equal protection of law, equality before law, and liberty of thought, of expression, of faith, belief, of worship. This kind of freedom is one of the constitutional goals. Constitution also aims at achieving fraternity, that is brotherhood, and combined together that we want to achieve the unity and integrity of the nation. So if you look at the objectives of the Constitution, it is the well-being of all. It thinks of all must be treated alike and laws must protect them. There must be economic stability for all. There must be party opportunity to participate in the political administrative affairs. And social status also must be treated alike. That is the constitutional goal. But if you think really, even after 7 decades of independence, have you achieved this goal? The answer is really doubtful. We can't boldly say, yes, we have achieved this goal. Look at the other parts of the Constitution, like Constitution aims at all-round development of an individual. It gives so many freedoms. From Article 14 onwards, we have Article 14 assuring this equality before law and equal protection of law. And the other articles, 15 and 16, provide for opportunity in life. And Article 19 provides for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to perform any occupation or profession. And Constitution also guarantees us life and liberty cannot be taken away except in accordance with the procedure established by law. And we have also freedom of conscience. Look at the nature of liberties that the Constitution of our country guarantees to every citizens, that you are free to profess the profession of your choice. You have freedom of expression. You have a safety for your protection. Your liberty is protected. It cannot be disturbed except in accordance with law. There is plenty of opportunity to grow as you like. That is the kind of freedom that is ensured to all the citizens of this country. That is for what purpose? That is to see that every citizen will grow. There will be an all-round development. That a man will grow to his as he likes without disturbing the other's rights. But if we just look back and think that whether really we are enjoying our freedoms as envisaged in the Constitution, we can't here also boldly say that really we are enjoying our freedoms the way Constitution wants us to. Similarly, look at that there is one article in the Constitution which says that untouchability is abolished. So now this has happened in the Constitution, a specific article abolishing untouchability. And if you think that, are we really practicing, though the Constitution says practicing untouchability in any of its form is an offense, and then there are other laws also, still by practice, by our conduct in the society, are we really respecting this provision is really doubtful. We are not. Here and there, we are seeing cases and violations or infringement of rights of the individuals belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe and weaker section of the society. And this untouchability is still in practice, though more than 7 decades we have spent constitution declaring that untouchability is abolished. If really we respect constitution from either side, either against whom it is practiced or the persons who are practicing it, it only shows that we are not really respecting the constitutional provision. Though the constitution declares that untouchability is abolished, it is not in existence now, but in practice, we are still practicing that only total disregard for this provision. So also forced labor, trafficking in human beings, we have seen constitution says that there can be no forced labor at all. Trafficking in human beings is an offense, but still in practice, we are seeing these things. This only means that are we really respecting constitution? Though we enjoy a lot of rights like that, fundamental rights, we never care for our obligations, our duties. So, what I want to say is that we must respect constitution and we must respect laws. It's only then we can achieve something or we can achieve constitutional goals. Similarly, the directive principles of state policy also provide for the well-being and welfare of all the citizens. It provides provisions for young children, for women, for sick, for diseased persons, and for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward class, and all classes of people in the society. It looks at the welfare and well-being of all the persons, and it directs. It is mandatory in governance, though the principles in directive principles of state policy are not justiciable in law, but still they are mandatory in governance of the state or the country. They are very, very mandatory. They provide for so many principles the directive principles contain. And justice for all. No person should be denied justice. For that, they have enacted Legal Services Authority Act to see that no man, for want of money or other things, should be deprived of justice. Everyone should get justice. That is the aim of that. Even environment also. Look at that, the dangerous situation we are in. I was reading some articles on what is going to be the future because of this global warming and climatic changes. Tremendous changes, disastrous consequences are there in the offing because of this global warming, and probably there will be reduced rainfall will be there. We will see a lot of soil erosion. We will see flood conditions, and there may not be rainfall in food growing areas, and there may be transportation problems. There may be disruption of supply of power, and lot of things, and there will be loss of lot of species. Already a lot of species are extinct. All this is because all this directly attributable to human conduct. This global warming directly attributable to human conduct. All of us, one way or the other, have contributed for this situation, and it is a serious threat. And directive principles of state policy provides for this environment. A safe environment is required for everybody, but are we caring for that is the question. And we are seeing now how these circumstances, climatic changes, are causing a serious threat to human life and any other life also. it is causing. So that we must uh, create awareness about these things regarding environment. So also right to privacy also. Though right to privacy is not mentioned in the fundamental rights, Supreme Court has read into Article 21, right, liberty and life cannot be taken away except in accordance with the procedure established by law. They have read into this that right to privacy is also part of Article 21. And today, anybody can talk of anybody, anybody's life, anybody's behavior, anybody's conduct, where he is sitting, what he is eating, how he is dressing. All these things are happening now. The right to privacy is under serious threat. So there must be provisions for this. And then this can happen only by behavioral changes. People uh, must know, they must respect others' life also. That can happen. Not no doubt, laws are also required. At the same time, human conduct must change. Unless we see tremendous changes in character and conduct of human beings, these things will not happen. There is a serious threat to right to privacy. So also, all of us normally we always care that my right is violated. This is how it is done. My liberty is taken away. Lot of things that I am not treated equally. So there are a lot of complaints of violations of Article 14, 19, 21, like that. But nobody is thinking of fundamental duties. Rarely we think or discuss about the fundamental duties. Just like we have fundamental rights for our all-round development of every individual, there are obligations also which we owe a duty to the nation. Indirectly, it is to the people at large. In a democracy, I am under obligation to do means fundamental duty means I must do that. It is an obligation of every citizen. What is their obligations? So there is a specific article 51A which provides that we must respect our national anthem, we must respect our national flag, must respect our nation, we must respect constitution and all laws. Are we doing that? If we are not sincere, whatever laws are there, if laws are followed or obeyed in its breaches, how can we achieve happiness in the society? No doubt, science and technology has grown tremendously, and it ensures or promises us some truthfulness, no doubt about that. But science can never promise us happiness and peace. Happiness and peace must come from our coexistence by keeping our surroundings in a proper condition. That can happen. That relates to human conduct. So we must care for that. Unless we respect our constitution, unless we respect laws, unless we behave properly, we can't think of peace and happiness in this society. That becomes a fundamental duty to respect laws and constitution. Are we doing it? Whether first of all, do we know what the constitution provides for? Do we know have you created awareness even after 7 decades of Indian independence? Have you created awareness that this is what constitution aims at, and these are the provisions, these are your rights, these are your obligations for your country? No, we have not done that at all. Then constitutions, people fought for us. For what purpose? To see that all our countrymen live peacefully, they coexist. For that purpose, they sacrifice their lives. All freedom struggles, lot of people, innumerable people have participated in freedom struggle. For what purpose? To see that the future generation will peacefully and happily, and they will be governed by their own government. For this purpose, we are forgetting them. Slowly, we are discrediting them and we are disagreeing with them. Lot of things are happening. So that also becomes our duty to see why our ancestors fought for our freedom during freedom struggle, for what purpose, what were their objectives, what were their thinking to achieve freedom for the country. We must respect that also. We must also see that uh, to sacrifice, make sacrifice for our country. See, if a man, in Vivekananda's words, what is moral and what is immoral, he simply says, all that is selfish is immoral. All that is unselfish and sacrifice for others, to live for others, is moral. That is the definition by Swami Vivekananda. All that is selfish. If somebody achieves lot of things, a lot of money, lot of earnings he makes for himself and his family, and that is immoral, what he says. Those who live for others only live, and the rest are more than that. Those who live for others only live, and the rest are more than dead, is what Swami Vivekananda says. Therefore, we as citizens of this country must make sacrifices for the well-being of all the citizens of our country, humanity at large. Why only our countrymen? Humanity at large, and also the environment, surroundings, the other beings also who are existing with us. That should be the, that is what fundamental duties. In fundamental duties, we must transcend beyond these caste, religion, race, transcend beyond that and coexist. That the only then, unless we transcend beyond religions, race, caste, we can never coexist, and we can never achieve fraternity. To achieve fraternity, if a country wants to achieve fraternity, then all of us must stand, transcend beyond these petty things, small things, and then only we can achieve fraternity. That is also one of the fundamental duties. And fundamental duties also provide that environment, your forests, your lakes, your rivers, all these things. We are not only protecting them, in fact, by our conduct, we are destroying them. They are polluted. They are, nature is the source of happiness. Unless the nature is uh, uh, safe, human beings can never be happy at all, because that is the air we breathe, the water that flows, the earth, all these things, the sky, beautiful atmosphere. Unless these things are there, clean, safe, human beings can never be happy at all. Therefore, safe environment and surrounding circumstances, we must see that they are protected, preserved, and if possible, they are improved for our better existence, for our existence. So also, achieving excellence is also a fundamental duty. In this year itself, I can discuss that achieving excellence. How can you achieve excellence unless you communicate, you create awareness, you educate people? We can't achieve excellence at all. And we are only trying to account that literacy percent, 7%. That is not the thing. Create awareness. What are the obligations, responsibilities? My country is great. My country is number one. My country serves humanity at large. To achieve this kind of excellence in human life, we have to struggle a lot. Therefore, now here itself, I want to mention that what the law colleges, these three law colleges now are doing is an excellent job. That this is the way we can achieve excellence. They are conducting these programs to see that knowledge is disseminated and people are educated. That should be the duties of law colleges. It is not producing few law graduates. That will not serve the purpose at all. Development lawyers. We want development lawyers. We want lawyers who serve the humanity. We want that kind of lawyers. And it is not just the job of the law colleges, or it's not just to produce few law degree holders. It is beyond that. They must also change their vision. They must start thinking now how to achieve the constitutional goals. That should be the responsibility of the universities and the law colleges. they must also think of humanity beyond these people, weaker section of the people, how to educate them, create aware law colleges can undertake and be the responsibility. In the word of Krishna, Justice Krishna, is that it's not just graduating people or teaching in law, just it is not the law college job is confined to teaching work. We want development lawyers who think of the nation, whose vision is broader, and who think of the development of their country, who want to serve the humanity at large. That should be the endeavor of law institutions, is really what I think. And also, it is the fundamental duty of the state and also the parents and the guardians to educate every child. Every child should be given education. Unless people, education is one thing which can transform individual, which can transform the society, which can transform the world. It's only by education. Whether, of course, whether reading and writing is important, that is a different thing. Educating people to create awareness, to communicate knowledge, and then that they be conscious of the good and evil of the society. That kind of education should be given for all our children. Only when people are educated, rule of law can be respected and rule of law can be sustained and it prevails. Otherwise, we say that in a democracy, people are sovereign. Two important things: people are sovereign, and that means the ultimate sovereignty rests with the people in a democracy. And second thing is, rule of law should prevail. It is not individual volition. What one person thinks, what one authority thinks, is not important for us. There are rules, there are guidelines, they must follow that, and their acts must conform to rules and laws, not that they, according to their whims and fancies, are arbitrarily. No authority, nobody can act in a democracy. And these two things, that means to think that people are sovereign. Have you educated them? Whose responsibility is that? Is it constitution and laws are just to argue before a court and get justice for few people? Or is it meant for all of us, those who not go to the court, whether they are governed by the constitution and laws? True, they are governed by laws and constitution. It is meant for them also. Therefore, educating them that you are sovereign, the authority was seen. You give power to all others, be it legislature, be it executive, be it judiciary. All people emerge from the society, and unless people are strong, we can't expect that democracy is going to be a successful thing. And so also, rule of law should prevail. How many cases come before the court that arbitrarily, without hearing me, without giving any opportunity, only on that ground, not other things at all, merits and demerits, without looking to that, just because nobody is asked, just some decision is made arbitrarily, the orders are quashed. The laws, laws are also sometimes made like that. I don't think in many cases discussions happen while making laws. That will not happen. And when come to the court, we test it with whether it is constitutionally valid or not. And courts declare those laws are invalid or unconstitutional. So all these things have happened. Therefore, education is a must for all of us, and that is a fundamental duty. And therefore, I request all the law colleges, of course, teaching work is there. That apart, more and more legal aid programs, creating awareness, community is also the duty of and I think that program faculty is really a successful event, and a lot of very relevant topics have been discussed, and because all those topics are covered by very eminent professors who are well read and who are experienced. I don't want to talk anything about all those things. All that I say is law institutions must look beyond this just teaching work, and they must also take up these things as a social cause, and uh, their objective must be to achieve constitutional goals. Law institutions, whatever they do, maybe in training lawyers, because unless the character of lawyers or the bar members depends upon the character of law college, and the character of judiciary depends upon the character of the bar members. They are interrelated. Be it lawyers or judges, they come from the law institutions. So if you want to strengthen judiciary, and then lawyers may also work in other fields. They may be legislators, they may be corporators, they may also be in the executive, they may become ministers. There also, they must go from the law institutions as people who want to serve humanity at large, public at large. So that should be the endeavor for the law institutions. And it is time for me to say thank you all. And I sincerely thank once again the principals of Saraswati Law College, Chitradurga, RL Law College, Davangere, and CBR National College of Law, Shumaga, for this opportunity. And I also thank all the participants for your patient hearing. All to be great is not great, to be good is great. Therefore, let us be good and do good. Thank you all.